Hi. Um, so Layla had this dream about Maleficent crossing the bridge, and we decided to cross over to their side. Kind of like decided to go into church and and get them to really start questioning these things about how they bring disunity to each other. Okay, so we went over to their side. We went over to the dark side. No, we're trying to bring in the light. That's what it's about. They look at it as we're bringing the dark, you know. But in essence, the cockroach is another one of my totems to get me to understand the whole thing of scurrying when the light is shined, So I was really resistant to the cockroach when it showed up as a totem of mine. I was like, you tortured me through all my younger years. I don't want anything to do with you. You're gross and disgusting. And yeah. Um, Cockroach has had a lot to tell me. He's been with me my whole life. There to remind me of my roots. Not to let me forget that I grew up in poverty. And I grew up among the publicans and sinners. I grew up among the outcasts of society. And it is not prudent of me to go forward thinking I'm better than everybody just because I have done something to try to improve myself. But honestly, the more I'm looking around me at this situation I've created myself, I realize I actually created this situation because I didn't feel deserving of a better life. But I'm thankful for it because it's showing me in many ways now how my roots were always there and how I can create from my roots, not run away from them, not try to get rid of them, not hack them out of the ground. See, this was another interesting thing as I was talking about wild grass. The thing is, there's like something called crabgrass. I mean, I swear you cannot get rid of this stuff, but most grasses you cannot get rid of them. Oh, certainly you can get rid of the domestic grasses. They're easy to kill off because they have no root system. Wild grasses, oh, forget about it. You either learn to love them and live with them and thrive with them, or they take over. They're Mother Nature's they're like cockroaches, you know. Another interesting analogy that was given to me the other day when I was talking about the grasses was the comfrey. And people have said don't plant comfrey unless you plan on keeping it around, because once you plant it, it's not going anywhere. And I can tell you this, it's a very hardy plant. I even dug it up a few times to move it to a new location and found out I divided my plant. Because it'll grow back from the tiny little piece. And I remember this other plant, an iris plant. I hated irises, and I swore to myself I would never have iris plants because this was like the only plant in our yard that would survive other than weeds. And it's like it has a few days of beauty, and then it spends the rest of its lifetime as this horrible spiky thing that pops balls. At least that's the way I looked at it as a kid. So Layla and I decided to cross over into the dark side. We decided to bring in some light, and as a result, we were hated and told we're evil. Yeah. In the final days, what is good is going to be seen as evil, and what is evil will be seen as good. Everybody will become a wolf in sheep's clothing. And everybody will sit there and point the fingers at other people because they're so fond of looking at the speck in someone else's eye and ignoring the plank in their own. By their fruits you will know them. And because I am a follower of Jesus, I will also be hated because he was hated. I will be crucified because he was crucified. And I came to realize that people don't know who Jesus is. This is, geez, I swear my phone just totally jumped out of my hand. I don't think I dropped it. It didn't seem like I dropped it because it kind of fell forward. Like toward me? Like it was jumping toward me. Hi Jeannie, is that you? Are we gonna get to see each other soon? That would be like so amazing. Anyway. I sound so totally crazy, don't I? Unity, where was this going? My music is back. Oh yeah, I woke up this morning. And so, golly, 2 weeks ago, I met Maleficent. Well, I had met her, but she had been avoiding me because my energy apparently was way too strong, and she just didn't want to really get involved with me. But another friend that was in the stream also says, you know, you really need to get to know her better. And Pally is going through a lot of stuff. She really does need a good friend. And so Maleficent and I started talking, and I gave her way too much of my heart. It was really freaky for me. I didn't want to give anybody my heart again. And honestly, it really felt like Genie 2.0. This really felt like a reconciliation. I'm like, no, God, I don't want this. I don't want love. Love hurts. I can understand all the damage that people do to each other, but that doesn't mean I ever want to dance with love again. I'm going to stay on the sidelines, thank you very much, or I'm going to play the game, but I'm going to play the game of, you know, with the intent to win. Sounds pretty bad, huh? Or the intent to lose. Actually, yeah, I'm just planning on losing. Because nobody can ever truly love me. So while my mission is to bring unity to other people by understanding their barriers to love, I believed I had done enough of my own shadow work, understood enough of my barriers to love, and that I really had lost hope that I was ever going to find an individual to share myself with, believing that it would be about nothing but endless projections. And so Maleficent comes along, and you know, I talked about wanting to interact with the female energy, so maybe this was, you know, Spirit's way of granting that, but it never got a chance to really evolve. Because it went from great to horrible in a week. And, I mean, the highest high and the lowest low. Like the church experience. Just fast forwarded and sped up. Like the Genie experience. And again, what was I saying? Now I've gotten myself depressed. And I was like, kind of like on a high. Unity, my music. Anyway. So the day before things were gonna go really wrong with Maleficent. And I had already like poured out my heart to her. We had dinner, and it was like the most amazing experience I had had of bonding with anybody for as long as I can remember. I don't even think I bonded as deeply with Genie, except for like the first few chats we had over Messenger, because he lives in a different country, and you know, we had some video chats. But by the time I got to go see him physically, that intimacy wasn't there. None of it, nothing was there that any remotely resembled what we started with. That was very disappointing. So honestly, Maleficent is really the first person that I have been mutually intimate with, not in a sexual way, emotionally. Because I pour out anything and everything to Casper. That was like my only way of trying to desperately keep what I knew was a failing relationship and him always pulling away from me. That was the only thing I could do, was to just start throwing up, pouring out everything, you know, hoping that he would reciprocate. Oh well, I learned a lot. You know, I learned that even despite him not wanting to listen to me, I learned that I process things best when somebody listened to me. So these past few years have been basically him just listening to me because I wouldn't shut up. I had too much going on, you know. I needed somebody to talk to, even if I couldn't receive the emotional validation I needed. I got to receive some intellectual validation. And I came to see Genie and our relationship in an entirely, not Genie, I'm sorry, Casper, and our relationship in an entirely new light. This is why I'm okay letting go of the idea of man, woman, married, because we have a daughter. You know, we could still be best friends. And honestly, I realized I think of him much more like a best friend or a brother. And that's still a wonderful love. It's just not the husband and wife love. And that's okay. Just because we're not lovers doesn't mean we don't have love. I had to allow that to redefine itself. And this is part of the whole twin flame thing. This is why I know I'm a divine feminine, because ever since this journey began 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was, you know, I realized there was that whole thing of bringing unity, of allowing relationships to define themselves, and of understanding I carried catalyst energy and learning to be okay with that. Learning to be understanding how to rebuild, though, from the destruction that would inevitably happen. Understanding not to take personal things personally, and understanding how to help people and myself understand the endless sea of projections we're constantly throwing at each other, as well as the endless sea of disinformation, disunity, temptations from Satan that are constantly thrown at us. I have no idea what I just said. Music. So the day before things went terribly bad with Maleficent, a few days after I had poured out my heart to her, I had a bunch of worship music running through my head. And it was going through my head endlessly, like for several nights. It was like the best night's sleep I have had in years. It was great to just be serenaded all night by songs to Jesus. And I have no idea what was singing them, but you know, I was lucidly dreaming, so I was recalling them, and they were very peaceful night's sleep. My dreams weren't so chaotic, and it was restful. Well, I woke up in the middle of the night after about 3 days of this. So it started when I met Maleficent. And I guess my heart felt so alive, so free. It just wanted to sing. And it was going to keep singing the praises to Jesus. But then all of a sudden I woke up in the middle of the night and my music had stopped. Went to the bathroom. And had a very sinking realization that Maleficent was going to be gone. I have cried enough tears over this, so this is why tears aren't coming. Because I realized the tears were for Jeannie, they were for Casper, they were for all the people I've loved and lost. And Maleficent just really, it's almost like she came in just for the sole purpose of getting me to finally clear out all this karma. And allowing me to move forward into a new life. So I really don't have any tears. I feel sad. You could probably tell by how I've changed. Even my eye color has changed. It went from clear bright to dark stormy blue. So my music had stopped. And then tonight, or last night, I woke up this morning with the amazing realization that my music was back. Well, hi. This is... I don't know if you saw her name's Mooly. That's what my daughter called her. She's a two-eyed cat. She has a green eye and a blue eye. Well, I guess everything is two-eyed, I mean, but I don't know what you call it. She has a green eye and a blue eye, and she's howling at me. So anyway, my music was back, and that was like a really great feeling to have. And I didn't quite know why it was back. I wasn't sure what it was, but all the tarot readers are talking about September 9th being this time for unity, for reunion. And I wasn't holding out any hope anymore that Jeannie would ever contact me, especially because I went through and deleted my Facebook account, and I don't know if he knows how to get a hold of me otherwise. You know, but it's not like I was going to make it easy for him to find me, and I don't want to engage in that form of communication with people right now. I want authenticity. I want real people, and I was really becoming really distrustful of people. I didn't know who to trust anymore because it seemed like everybody was saying one thing to me and then turning around and saying something completely different, and quite often stabbing me in the back. Or they were just confusing the hell out of me, and I couldn't think. I needed to focus. Something was going terribly wrong with all the energies. So September 9th, you know, after this weird summer of all this astrological activity, September 9th was supposed to be this release, this time of rest and time of union. I didn't know what that meant for Jeannie and I. Although I didn't feel like I'm really in any place where I want unity or union. I don't want to focus on relationships right now. I have a much bigger thing in mind. And yeah, I do need to learn how to let love back into my heart. But that doesn't mean I need to put myself in such a vulnerable position of being intimate emotionally with anybody right now. And, catch a wish. I don't know if you can see it. He's gone. Little fuzzy. Dandelion fluff. Actually, this one was a milkweed fluff. And, so unity. My music was back. So what did that mean? If it did it mean that Maleficent would be coming back into my life? I don't know. And I don't really want that right now. I think there's actually a lot more stuff that needs to come crumbling down, because she, kind of in my mind, is representing the emotions of the church right now. And that still needs some ripening in hatred in order for that volcano to explode. I don't think that volcano's ready to explode yet. But when it does, the explosion's gonna be glorious. And I'm gonna be right there with front row seat and popcorn. Well, getting lava spilled all over me because they'll say I'm responsible for it. Oh well. And I went to Catholic Mass last night. And it was the oddest experience. I thought I knew what to expect. But even this just completely blew my mind because my senses were just on overload. It was like, there was so many voices, whatever in there. I thought their PA system was like really screwed up because I was just like hearing all these echoes and couldn't make out any words that they were saying. And it's like I'm becoming aware of all these sort of conversations in other people's heads. And the children that were there were just all agitated and, either exuberant or crying, and there was just all sorts of stuff going on, just all sorts of confusion in this building, and I'm like, what the hell is this? I mean, hell. I got to catch a little glimpse of how Rome has really influenced humanity, because they took over Jesus' message and made it into something it's not. They made us all into Apollites, because most people are followers of Paul. Paul's an interesting man. Him and I have had some interesting discussions. But it's time for a lot of things to be fixed. And Paul will help me with that. There's a good chance I might have been Paul in a past life, atoning for sins of the past, where I brought disunity. I honestly believe that's the meaning of sin, is any desire to bring disunity, any desire to divide. It has nothing to do with good or bad, because those are all judgment calls, because we ate of the only fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. We didn't eat of the fruit of wisdom to understand how to apply this knowledge, or understand that certain things have a certain time, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to thrive, a time to not thrive, whatever. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. We have day, we have night, we have hot, we have cold. We have opposites for a reason. It's not to sit there and lump them together and that all these certain things are good while all these other things are bad. So we're going to avoid the bad things. If that was the case, we would avoid cold, we would avoid night, we would avoid these potentially scary things, But we need all that stuff. We need night to sleep. Apples need a certain number of chill hours in order to come back next spring and produce fruit. This is the whole thing. So people will endlessly divide. So sin is not doing bad, because everybody has a different definition of what bad is. And it's like morals, or not morals. What are those that business people use? Whatever they are, they're like morals, but they're very, like, it is like morals. Gosh, what's the word? But they're very relativistic. It's kind of like they just apply them when it's convenient for them. And otherwise, they don't really follow their code of conduct. I really wish I could remember the word now. It would make a lot more sense. But this is the way it is with sin. People have this certain idea saying this is bad, this is good. Oh, unless I do it, then it's fine. Really? No. Sin is the desire to divide. So when Jesus took on our sins, he was in essence taking on our desire to divide and trying to show us what we do with this desire to divide. And when we unify in that desire to divide, just the sheer amount of destruction that we can create. So yeah. But my music is back. It's wonderful. I actually had a pretty good night's sleep last night. Maybe that's why I'm kind of hyper. I don't know. I'm just suddenly feeling like there is magic in the air. I love the fall time. Fall is like autumn. This is my magic time of the year. This is when I come alive. Most people come alive like in the spring or something. But I almost feel like I start going into hibernation in the spring. And maybe this is why this is probably an indicator of, why Jeannie is my twin flame, is because eventually I need to end up in the southern hemisphere where my body and biorhythms will be on the right clock. Oh, because seriously, they are not aligned with the seasons at all. I am most alive in the fall and winter. This is like the burgeoning of my creativity here. I mean, even come the solstice in December, that's really when a lot of things are gonna just be birthed through me. So rather than the summer solstice, no, for me it's winter solstice, it's December solstice. But down in the southern hemisphere, that would be summer solstice. So it's spectacular, amazing. But my music is back. So what does that mean? It means just who I am. I bring unity. I bring that Christ consciousness back. I have that wisdom. I embody that wisdom. I have won this wisdom, and it really, it took a lot to win this wisdom. In essence, I'm like Odin, who hung upside down on the tree of life so he could gain the knowledge of the runes. I hung upside down on the tree of life so I can gain this wisdom. I am Solomon. Whatever. I have wisdom. And I will do something with this wisdom and bring the unity to people that they need. And I'm going to be building bridges, particularly starting with this community. And it kind of confuses me, because I'm quite aware that I really have two life paths unfolding before me, and that I will be walking both of them in two different countries. One of them will be more or less my permanent home. Get off of me. Ugh. Spider is my totem, but that doesn't mean that I, particularly like them crawling on me. I'm still working through my fear on that one. Isn't it funny how animal totems are often the ones that you're the most afraid of? Yeah, I'm going to end this for now. 23 minutes. Wonderful! Unity. I have no idea if I ever actually said what my point was. So, whatever this quail run means. And my music is back. So, I'll be walking instead of flying. I don't know. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye.